All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we have an inverter video. Now this is an alpha pure sine wave inverter. Always recommend pure sine wave. It's gonna be better for your electronics. And this is a 1500 watt, so not a huge inverter, but great for a small build. It could run a lot of household items. And we're gonna open this up. We're gonna put it through the paces here on Tackle That. Let's open her up. Ooh, all right, instructions, 1500 watt, and it gives you some do's and don'ts. We'll go over that in a second. Here's what that inverter looks like. I love that color. A nice blue color. Cool, so here we go. This is a 12 volt. Now they have them in different voltages. I can tell from the box that you can get this in a variety of different flavors. So it looks like they have 12 volt, 48 volt, and they also have 160 volt output and 240 volt output. But let's take a look at this guy. It's got 2 AC ports. It's also got some digital readouts, and it has 2 USB ports. I really like when they have USB ports. That way you don't have to use any of your plugs to switch over to USB. You get them right there natively on the inverter. All right, it's got some mounting tabs for the bottom. And then your battery terminals are this screw style. It's a thumb style. So what I like to do is normally get some pliers on there. I don't have any here, but I'll get some pliers on there and really wrench those down, because I don't think you can get them super tight with your fingers. You need to get them those extra tight and make sure that you don't have any loose connections, especially if you're pulling 1500 watts, because at 12 volts, that is over 100 amps. So that is a lot of power going through your wires and your connectors. Really nice. All right, nice and lightweight too. So won't add, if you put this in a portable system, it's not going to add a lot of weight to what you got going on. Now, the input voltage is 10 volts to 15 volts, so that's good. It's going to work on lead acid or lithium iron phosphate. Lithium iron phosphate has a little higher of a voltage curve. Output 1500 watts. USB outputs are 2.1 amps, so not your high-speed USB, but definitely in the middle, able to charge up most devices. Peak power, it says 1700 watts, so that's pretty good. You can go a little over the 1500 watts based on this. Now it's going to have overload protection at 1800 watts. It has a fuse protector, so that looks like it's going to be internal. So just know if this thing suddenly stops working, check those fuses on the inside. And it's going to have over voltage protection at 15.5 volts and under voltage protection at 10 volts. So it won't completely kill your battery, which is good. This will cut off your loads and make sure that you don't destroy your batteries. All right, dimensions are in millimeters. It's going to be 320 millimeters by 150 millimeters by 90 millimeters high. Attentions that it says, don't put in a humid environment. Make sure your temperatures are between 0 and 40 degrees Celsius. Keep some space around the unit to dissipate the heat, and keep the airflow going. So if you do put this in a box, make sure that you have a fan and some ventilation system to get the air circulating to keep it cool. And that looks like it for that. So let's hook this up to a battery and let's hook up some heat guns and see how much power we can get out of this bad boy. Now make sure you have the right size wire. This is silicone wire and it can handle higher temperatures. This is 2-gauge wire, so it can handle, they say, up to about 170 amps, so we're going to be okay here. But I definitely recommend you make sure you calculate how many amps you're going to put through your wire and get the right size wire. Even get a step up bigger if you want some extra precaution. Let's connect this up to the negative terminal and connect this up to the positive terminal. And we're going to use these pliers to tighten it up. So get it tight and then use some pliers. Don't let it slip on there, but give it a little extra turn, and that'll make sure you got a nice, strong connection. There you go. Perfect. Now you always connect up your inverter first, and then we're going to connect it up to the battery. We don't want any live wires when you connect it up to the battery first touching anything. So you always connect your inverter first, and then we'll connect up the battery. Now you are going to get a spark if you connect this up because there's capacitors in here and it's going to have a rush of current. You can use a resistor to slow the flow of energy into it, charge up the capacitors, and then connect your big cables up, and that will limit the spark. So now we have power through this resistor, and I'm going to connect. Here's where it comes in, goes through the resistor. So I'm just going to touch this here, and this is going to allow energy to flow into this inverter. Give it about 5 seconds there, and then we should be able to connect it up, and we did. See, no spark at all. Perfect. All right, now quickly connect your wire and tighten these down, and you'll be good to go. If you let it go too long, the capacitors will lose their charge, and then you will still get that spark. So connect them up quickly, tighten everything down. All right, and this is how I typically set things up. This allows me to have a charge port or hook up smaller accessories to my battery, or a resistor if we needed that set up. And we have our big wires for our inverter. Okay, so we should be good to fire this thing up. Let me turn this around so you can see. Hey, we got the beep, and it's saying 13.4 volts. And then our output, it's saying 111 volts, which is fine for your 110, 120 volt appliances. And we are good to go. We got power out of these plugs right now. Let's get some loads on here, and let's stress this thing out a little bit, huh? What do you say? We've got our heat gun. The other thing we're gonna need is a clamp meter. So we will see exactly how many amps are flowing through this. Let's go ahead and zero that out. Double check all of our terminals. Everything looks solid. Let's plug in our heat gun. It's off right now. All right, let's do mode 1, which is just low heat. So now we have 51 amps getting drawn out of the battery right now. And this says 5 amps. All right, so this actually says 5.5 amps. That decimal is actually incorrect. That's interesting. This is pulling 55 amps or so. This says 52 amps, 53, 54, and there is a little loss in the inverter. So yeah, you're pulling about 55 amps, but this actually says 5.5 amps. I'm gonna have to let Alpha know that they have that decimal place in the wrong area. But that's an easy fix. Once you know that, you can work around that. So let's try high. High jumps us up to 109 amps, and this says 110 amps. So we're dead on there. We're pulling 110 amps out of this battery right now, and it is not disconnecting. So that's actually really impressive. Now just make sure nothing heats up too quickly, Make sure that you, whoop, that one's getting pretty hot. Okay, so yeah, we're pushing the limits here. Let's turn that off and check this connection here. Yeah, maybe it is a little loose. Let's tighten it up. All right, let's kick that back on and see what we can do. So now it doesn't actually say the watts, but it says the amps, so we can do some calculation. I'll put it on the screen, how much we're actually drawing, but it'll be 111 amps times 12 volts, and that'll give you how many watts we're pulling out of here, which looks to be about maybe 12 to 1300 watts. So not even overloading the inverter yet. Now this is, it's definitely not as hot. It's cooling down. That's good. All right, so that's always make sure you have solid, tight connections if you're going to be pulling this much power. Everything else is very cool on this side. No problems at all. And she's still going. This inverter is nice. It's not complaining at all. Still pulling 106, 108, 105 amps out. Really nice. That lug is still a little warm. The bottom one's heating up as well. So definitely something to consider. Make sure you have the right size terminals and the right size wire to limit any heat buildup. Let's let that run for a little bit, and we'll check on it here in a few minutes. All right, let's do something fun and hook up a 4 or 5 amp drill, and that way we can kind of throttle the power consumption. And let's see what we can do here. All right, we're at 110 amps, 112, 120, 127. So we're at 127 amps, and that's with this drill full speed. 128 amps we just hit. Wow, that's great. Look at this battery. It is taking a licking and keeping on ticking. 126 amps, 125 amps, 126. This says 128 on this screen. And we're losing some voltage. We're draining this battery pretty fast. At this rate, we would drain this in less than an hour. Not too bad there. All right. The terminals are definitely warm, but that's pretty normal. All right, so let's stop that. Let's turn that off. Woo! Now we can talk because that gets a little loud. So we pushed it to the limits. We peaked out this ALLFFA inverter and also this DC house battery. We pulled almost 130 amps out of this battery, which is really impressive. This will be great for hooking up your trolling motor or large loads. Even the BMS inside wasn't even hot at all. Normally you can feel a little heat. I can't feel anything, nice and cool. These terminals heated up a little bit, probably because they're not exactly the right ring size, so I would definitely consider that. But it still was fine. I still could touch it, but it definitely got pretty warm. And so just something to know, make sure you have the right ring terminals on there when you're doing, a permitted install. This is just for testing and we're monitoring, and you always want to give your stuff a heat test before you put it in play. All right, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the future videos. We're gonna take this inverter and we're gonna put it in a power bank, kind of a portable generator they call them, and we're gonna connect 2 lithium iron phosphate batteries, and I'm gonna make a power source for my father-in-law. Long story short, he got hit by a flood. He brought his generator out of the storage, tried to get it to work. The gas line was clogged. We worked through all that. Then the valve started leaking, and it wasn't a fun experience. Thankfully, I did bring my power station, you could see in the other videos, and we were able to power up the fan, get lights on, and get working on the house after the flood, and that didn't hinder us at all. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make him one of these. We're gonna take this inverter, we're gonna take some batteries, spare batteries from his golf cart, and we're gonna make him a power station he can use in a crisis. So make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.